Welcome to Sales Mavericks and Marketing Rebels, the show where bold business owners, savvy entrepreneurs, and sharp thought leaders push boundaries, challenge conventions, and redefine success in sales and marketing. And now your hosts, Nicholas Loise and Marco Salinas.
Hey there, it's Nicholas Loise, my partner in crime, Marco Salinas from Pina Colada Media, on with another phenomenal episodes of Sales Mavericks and Marketing Rebels, or Marketing Rebels and Sales Mavericks, whichever way you want to cut it. That's what we're doing. As in all of our episodes, it's brought to you by the great folks at Pina Colada Media. Pina Colada Media is the source. If you want to have a podcast, which, listen, guys, if you don't know by now, you need a podcast. I don't know what. We've been beating you on the head on it. Joe Rogan delivered the last election. Every candidate was on a podcast. So if you're a business owner and you want to take your business to the next level, get yourself on a podcast. Hit up the folks at Pina Colada Media. They make it so easy for you. It's just a beautiful thing. I just show up. I look pretty. They add hair. They take weight off of me. They make my beard dark. It's a great thing what they do, and they just make it look good. Marco, so you're got the armed services. I see you got. Is that the Army, Navy? What do you got there? USS the Navy.
USS Lexington. This is a World War II vessel.
Okay.
It docked down here in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay.
And a whole lot of incredible history. Matter of fact, actually, I take that back. This was a World War I and World War II vessel. That's how long this one's been around.
Wow.
So, really impressive, and great story behind it all. And I'm a World War II guy, so I like to wear the World War II stuff, and it sparks up conversations with people when I'm standing in line waiting for barbecue and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Is it a battleship?
This one's actually an aircraft carrier. The Lexington is an aircraft carrier. Yep. But we've also got the USS Texas, which you'll see me sporting from time to time, and that's a battleship.
All right. Well, we got the hat covered. We won't talk football. Last week, you were what side of the sideline were you on? The Texans or the Dallas Cowboys? Were you on the right or the left?
I'm always on the Cowboys side. Usually.
Gotcha.
I should say usually. Yeah. I in the 90s, I was diehard, and I just can't let go of it.
Well, they're America's team. Roger Staubach. Even me in Chicago, I had the Dallas Cowboys on.
That's right.
We've got a special guest, Walter Crosby, definitely a sales maverick and a sales rebel. He's a great entrepreneur. He's a great sales leader. He tries everything. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the power of testing and learning and all that good stuff. He's an author of a book, and really, he's got a great podcast. Cigars and Sales. I mean, you talk about made in heaven. I think that there's when you get up to the pearly gates, you go right to Cigars in Heaven, you go left to another podcast. So, that is perfect. He's in his barn, which is retrofitted to be his office and his studio. He lit up a stogie to talk to us. I think when I talked to him last time, he had a little brown adult beverage next to him. Maybe not. So what are you smoking, and what's going on in the world of sales?
I am smoking just a mild little Alex Bradley. It's been a long day. I've had 4 or 5 cigars today, so
that's a full day. And so, is that how you gauge the day, the sales challenges of the day?
I've never thought of it that way, but it's actually not a bad measuring stick.
Okay.
Where you just you're hitting your head on your hand on your forehead so many times during the day. You just need the cigar to be able to. Cigar is better than going to the brown.
Cigar is better than going to the brown liquor. I agree with that.
I agree.
And if I recall from you were kind enough to have me on your podcast. Hopefully, I did you a solid and I was a good guest. But if
everybody
not,
talks about it. They're still talking about it.
Don't tell me if I wasn't. But I remember you said that your process of thinking through a sales problem, a business problem, an entrepreneurial challenge is legal pad, turn everything off, light a cigar, and just brainstorm. Is right?
The contemplative cigar is what I call it. Yep. And you're exactly right. There's a writing implement, some type of paper, quiet space and a cigar, and it allows my mind to sort of be freed up to think about the specific issue that we're trying to resolve.
Okay. Marco is a big cigar guy. I know he does the thing, enjoys the cigars and hangs out with a group of guys. And, there's nothing better than male bonding. And I don't think we do enough of it as men, in all seriousness, and kind of
right.
share a cigar and tell stories.
That's
But
right.
we'll have to have another episode of that. I want to talk about sales issues. And you're in the field and you manage sales teams like I do here at Sales Performance Team, and you're been doing it for a long time. You're the master at helping entrepreneurs and small business owners hire salespeople because they all do it wrong. So, but let's talk a little bit about what you're seeing in kind of in the landscape of sales, and how's deal flow, and how are deals coming through? Or is it things accelerating now that the election is in our rearview mirror and we don't have to kind of put that as a way to stall, if you will?
Well, I was talking to some people this morning about all of the excuses that they were making for not having a robust November, October, for like what we do, Nick. I mean, The end of the year, Q4, specifically December, people have problems that need to be resolved, and they've had the problems since January, and they've been able to kick the can down the road. So the election is the latest thing for them to talk about. Well, everybody's nervous about what's going to happen. Yeah, that may be true. But once the decision is made, we're going to go one way or the other. But they still have the problem. So sure. It is in my not so humble opinion, it is never about this objection, is that as a salesperson, we fail to find the compelling reason and the urgency that buyer needed to make a move. Now, if they don't have a problem, then next, right? But if they have a problem, there's an objection that, like, sometimes there's a real objection. I was talking to a guy a few weeks ago who had a $50,000 a month problem that I could solve. And it was terrifying. It was a really big problem, and he wanted to solve it. And I'm like, well, is that a $50,000? Is that a lot of money for losing every month? And he's like, it is, but I got a bigger problem. I'm losing half a million dollars. $500,000 every quarter.
Okay.
I'm like, well, that's a big problem. He's like, yeah, that's a really big one. If I don't solve that problem, I get fired. So tell me about the problem. Long story long, I couldn't help him with the big problem.
You can help him with the smaller one, which is the $50,000, which is in essence $150 a quarter. So it's close to his $250,000 delta, but the $250,000 is what's jumping out at him.
Yeah, it was $500,000. So it was $500,000 that if he didn't solve that problem, he wasn't going to be in business in 3 quarters.
Okay.
So I'm like, dude, you got to solve that problem. I know somebody that might be able to help you. I'll connect you. I'm not going anywhere. Right? Because he was like, I got to get all my attention, all my resources are on that. Like, okay. So I connected him with the guy. I'm his buddy, and we're working on what he wants to do in January. To me, that was a legitimate problem.
And a legitimate objection, and a legitimate.
That all of his resources had to go into saving the company. Otherwise, the $50,000 problem didn't matter.
Yeah. I mean,
because we did the math, right? $650,000. But so to me, it's what my mentor told me. Like, you screwed up. You didn't find the urgency. You didn't find the compelling reason for them to do something. Then it's on you. If they really had a problem, it's on us. And I think we look outside as salespeople too frequently for the reason to blame something, to give ourselves an excuse. Sorry for ranting.
No, I love the rant. And it's ironic because I think you're 100% correct. There is, I'm not on Twitter a lot, and not for any other reason than it's just, it's a distraction at times. But there's a gentleman, he's actually from Chicago. His name is Todd Scipione, and he has a channel that's called The Sales Historian, right?
Okay.
And I highly recommend, if you're in sales and you like the old stuff, which I do, to get on this channel. And he has, in 1911, he has a post a couple days ago. In 1911, Herbert Cason was ranting that salespeople are always going outside and blaming outside sources for not bringing sales in. This is in 1911.
Oh, this is not a new problem.
It's not a new problem. It's not a new problem. This is another one that just jumped out at me. And Marco, I was thinking of you because you're a Dan Kennedy guy and a direct mail guy, and you do a lot of direct mail. 1923, James Marta's company spent thousands of advertising each year, but he said the best resource was a form letter that he would send out to clients, right? And so, nothing's changed is where I'm going with this, right? You go back and look at this, salespeople act the same. We still have a tough time hiring salespeople. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that if you're okay with that. Sure. I want to go back to the problems of pain, right? And the problems of us not doing our job as salespeople and sales leaders. That's the space that we're in. And every time I'm pointing a finger, I'm pointing 5 back at me. So I don't want anybody to think I'm being judgmental. But what is it that we're not training salespeople to do this, to find the pain, to do good discovery? Or is it that they are trained, it's just that they're lazy and they have muscle memory and they just go back to what's easy?
Well, I think if you had the real answer to that, we all would be able to retire, because that's
we wouldn't be flying first class, and we'd be private. And if you wouldn't be having an Alex Bradley, but you'd be lighting up an Opus. So sure, okay.
That Opus is over there, but they're for celebratory reasons.
Right. Gotcha. That's when you get the $50,000 solution solved.
Yeah. So there's a statistic that I think is relevant to this. 6% of all salespeople on the planet are elite, right?
Okay.
They're really, really good.
Okay.
14% are good. Like
Okay.
these are the A and the B plus players that you want on your team, right? These are the people that make up 20% of most sales teams, right? Those are the guys and gals that are the ones generating 80% of the revenue.
Okay.
And then you've got another 20% that are average or above average, right? Depending upon how we define average.
Okay.
The rest suck. We don't want them on our team, right?
But they're on our team. So what do we do?
You have to step up and make the decision as a leader, right? If you're the business owner or if you're the sales leader, you have to recognize that those people that are generating mediocrity, those are the people that are not pulling their weight. They're just it might be for laziness. It might be because they're not interested, because they don't have the commitment and the desire to do the job. So we might be helping some of them just by getting them off our team to go do something else that would be a better fit for them. But I look at it as the salespeople are what they are. We need to find the right ones for our team. So it's the sales leader and the CEO and the business owners that it's your responsibility to rid yourself of these below average people. You just need to get rid of them. Now that leaves a hole. Yes. Is that uncomfortable? Yes. How do you handle that? Well, your good salespeople can pick up the slack, but you need to have a plan. You need to be consistently and all the time be looking for talent. It's really that simple. You need to be looking for the talent that's going to work. I think hiring salespeople is different than hiring anybody else on your team, right? Because we're different people. We're weird, right? Who else does one of the admins in the office have competition to do his or her job? Nobody's coming in and stealing their pencils and their staplers and hiding their keyboard. That doesn't happen. But a salesperson goes out into the world and they've got, rejection, hostility, these people that just don't want to talk to them, right? We've got competition. We're different. We have to deal with all those things. So if we don't have a plan and a strategy to go find the ones that are going to help our team, we're going to get it wrong. And you get what you get.
So 2 things on that. I want to unpack that.
Okay.
First off, A players know they're A players. I had a sales guy. He actually was a really good sales guy. He actually moved to an SDR because he was doing something else, but he was with one of my clients. And he's like, listen, Nick, a gun knows a gun. A salesperson knows another salesperson, right? And you can't get around that. And because I was saying, hey, let's get you up and let's get you closing. He goes, nah, I just don't see it in this place. So with that being said, how do you go about hiring a gun? How do you go out and hire talent today? There's a lot of competition. And 2 is, for some of our listeners, small business owners, they can't afford top tier sales talent. They what they want and what they demand might break the bank, if you will. And you just say, hey, listen, you got to suck it up if you want a guy that's going to bring you.
Hire the best that you can afford.
Okay. So walk me through that. What does that process look like? And then how do you ramp them up? Right. And in your analogy, you had the elite, right? My guess is we're going to leave those alone and let them do what they want to do and just tweak their modifications. That's the Tom Brady's of the world, if you will. That's, we thought it was going to be Caleb Williams, perhaps in Chicago, was it? But these are people that you're going to coach, but they are driven and they really just need minor tweaking, is my guess. The B-level player, right, that 17 to 16%, they want to be coached. They probably need to be coached a little bit harder. And then that 20% needs to be coached super hard. So let's talk a little bit about hiring them, and let's talk a little bit about coaching them up.
So there's a process that we go through, and it really starts with, what do we want? So
you build an avatar.
We kind of build an avatar, but we call it a job description, right? Mm-hmm. Like when was the last time one of your clients wrote the job description for the salesperson that's for the role that they need, right? Maybe it's a hunter, maybe it's a real sales role, maybe it's an account manager. But what do they really need to do? We need to get clear, not about accountabilities and responsibilities. What do they need to be good at? What do they have to go out and do every day, every week, every month to be consistent? Like, what are those things? Do they need to sell value? Do they need to be able to know how to talk to a CFO? And do they need to be able to be in a conference room one day on a factory floor in the afternoon? Right? I mean, we need to get clarity about what it is that person needs. And that's the first big mistake I see. Like, well, we just need a sales guy. Okay, well, then you're going to get what you get, right? So we need to be specific about what we want. And then we need to write a different style of job posting that we're going to use, right? And it's not, again, what you see on Indeed. Here are the accountabilities and here are the responsibilities. Nobody reads those anymore, right? They just fast forward through, try to figure out what the company is.
Right, and those are written by HR versus a sales leader.
And those folks don't really know what salespeople are, how they think, and what they really need. Yeah. So we're talking to sales leaders. We're talking to the people that if they have a great salesperson, like, how do we clone this person? What do we need to get out of them? If it's the founder, what have you done? What have you done well? What are the things that you do because you're the CEO that we need to figure out how we can fabricate that into a salesperson, right? Because a CEO can go out and sell to other CEOs. As a founder, they can do things differently than a traditional salesperson. So we got to sort all of that. We write that ad that describes the individual. It's a little more complicated than this, but if you're reading the ad and you're the ideal candidate, you should be saying to yourself as you're reading, I do that. I'm really good at that. I've done that for 10 years. Wow, I should apply to this job. Right? Because I've just described them. I've just spoken to them. And at the same time, I'm repelling all of the people that suck, that aren't a good fit, right? That, you're still going to get the people that paper the world with their resume, but I'm speaking to the candidates that I'm looking to talk to. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to save time with this process. Is really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get to the people that are really who I want to talk to, and I'm looking to disqualify people along the way. So we use everybody that comes in that sends a resume, everybody's treated the same way. We have them take a assessment.
Okay.
It's not a behavioral assessment. It's not a personality assessment. We're not checking to see how smart they are. We're not trying to figure out if they can do some sort of scientific equations. We're checking to see how they think about sales and predicting whether or not they'll be successful selling to your customers at your price points in your marketplace against your competition. Because we create a profile that we're looking for, and we ask these people questions. We ask them the same questions 4 times to make sure we really get clarity. And we're looking at the things that are most important, right? There's 21 core competencies, but we're looking at, do they have the will to sell, right? Do they have commitment, desire, responsibility? Do they have the right outlook? And how are they motivated? And then we're looking at their sales DNA, which is simply put, what goes on in their brain? What baggage are they bringing to the party, right? Because as kids, we were taught, hey, don't go talk to strangers.
Right.
Don't talk about
money. Right.
Questions, that's rude. Don't ask a lot of questions. And then when they come salespeople, and what do we want them to do? All those things, right? So we figure out where those challenges are in their mindset. And then we look at the traditional tactical skills, right? Can they reach decision makers? Can they be consultative? Are they going to hunt, and they're going to hunt consistently, right? Those are traditional things. So we can quantify all of this and put a score to it. And we can predict whether or not they're going to be successful. Different assessment than DISC. DISC is great. PI is great. But when you look at them as what the profiles that they do from a sales perspective, they're benchmarking what somebody does in a social setting. Right? So a social setting means you can go to a party, you can go to a networking event, and you're the life of the party. Right? You're awesome. Everybody likes you. You've got to work the room. But what does that have to do with picking up the phone on a Monday morning in the office and start making some cold calls? What's the correlation there? It's pretty limited. So we're predicting what they're going to do. We do a phone screen, real simple, 10 minutes, trying to figure out if they're a fit. Did they pay attention to some really basic things? 10-minute phone screen. I'm really looking to disqualify people along this way. Then I do an hour interview where I look at 3 sections. 20 minutes on questions and concerns around their resume, because there's always little bullshit in a resume, especially.
All right.
And then we're going to ask them questions to make sure that what we saw in the assessment comes back, right? We have some standard questions that we ask. We try to keep the bias out of this. And then, we really focus on the role. What's the expectation? I'm not selling the company. I'm not selling the role. This road is really hard, Nick. It's going to be really difficult. There's, a lot of competition. We're a premium product. We're priced at a premium, and we got to sell value, right? So I'm laying out what it is and what we're really looking to do. And the people that are the right candidates are leaning into this interview. They're like kind of getting excited. You can hear it in their voice.
Sure.
So that's where we kind of, we vetted this person out. And then the client takes over at this point, right? Who do they need to see in the organization? We try to get them to bundle those up, 2 or 3 people at a clip. And then the last interview is an offer, right? And that's where we sell the job. That's where we sell the company. That's where we sell everything's great. And then we present them with a great comp plan and an offer. So all along the way, we're looking to figure out why this person isn't going to work. And really what we're doing, this mirrors a sales process. I mean, you've built hundreds of sales processes for companies.
Yep.
What are you doing? You're trying to qualify a buyer, give the buyer the information they need to make decisions, to get information for us. And that's exactly what this process does. But it does it with the fact that salespeople are pretty good at selling. They're pretty good at selling themselves. And they're often better at interviewing than the interviewer.
They're the masters at interviewing. And So love that, right? So you're writing a direct response ad for them, right? You're attracting the right people, you're repelling the right people. A couple things I want to ask you. Do you ever put a mock sales process in there, like sell me something, not sell me this pen, as trite as that, but walk me through how you would approach your sales process in your current role or in a role similar to this?
So I do that with structured questions
Okay.
in the interview. So I might be interested in, can they follow a sales process? So this is a complex sales role. So can you walk me through your process from prospecting, top of the funnel, to how you walk somebody to get them to the end and they give you a check? Like, walk me through the big steps. Keep it at 30,000 feet, but walk me through it. So as much detail as that they can give you, right? You can tell if they're bullshitting their way through that, if they're making it up or they start rambling and going down rabbit holes. But if I ask you how you sell somebody, what your process is, you're going to be able to intelligently talk about stages and some milestones that you have. And if you have one, you're able to do that. If you don't, you don't. Same thing with value. So I'm not giving them an exercise. I'm actually giving them a question that forces them to help me understand how they think.
Right. Second, I've always been a firm believer, but challenge me and call BS if you think I'm wrong, that those that are always at the top know where they stand vis-a-vis everybody else on the leaderboard or the sales board, and they always know their numbers. And whenever I have a salesperson that didn't know where they stood vis-a-vis the other salespeople or didn't know their numbers, I just ended it right there.
Well, I think you're 100% right. Like, what's your close ratio? What's your win rate? Where you stand with relative to the other people in the sales team? The good ones know exactly. I'm $350,000 behind the top salesperson. Right. Or I'm this percentage points behind. They know, because it's a competitive thing. We want to win. We want to be a team. We're team players as well.
Sure. You want that. Yeah.
We're talking crap in a meeting, like we're razzing each other back and forth, but it's like an Italian family. You can all talk crap about each other at Sunday dinner, but God forbid somebody else comes in and starts talking crap.
Oh yeah, it's the kiss of death. All right. I have a bias that I always ask to sales leaders, especially those of your stature. I think we are doing a horrible disservice to the salespeople of today and tomorrow by our current sales models with SDRs that are putting appointments, or BDRs that are putting appointments on the books for salespeople, and we have account executives that don't know how to prospect and can't take people from cradle to grave. Am I wrong with that thought process?
I agree with you. I think it adds a complexity. I mean, there might be some super large complex deals where you need to bring people in.
You need sales engineers. You need, that I agree with that.
To help with things, maybe. Yeah. But to me, I'm working with a newer client, and we're working through their sales process, and I'm like, you got 3 handoffs.
Yeah.
What can go wrong? Right? Nothing can go wrong with it. It's what's the play in football where the quarterback hands it off to the guy going that way, and that guy hands it off to the other
flea flicker or the reverse or something like that. And they always get caught for 30 yards behind the line of
scrimmage. Rarely does it work.
Right.
But when it does work, that's what people remember. So to me, that's very similar to what you're talking about with SDRs and BDRs and CDRs or whatever.
Yeah,
I agree.
I don't know how we fix it. I do think there's some interesting things happening on qualifications. I just saw a company today, a voice AI, right, that is in essence maybe cleaning up the database or taking a person that maybe did an online form and walking them through some questions. It's going to be intriguing a year from now what that AI voice looks like. I think, my joke is, everybody's marketing will say we've got all these leads, right? 50% of those leads are from Bangladesh. 30% of the leads are from marketing students or business students that are doing case studies that are hitting your online forums and filling out stuff, getting free stuff. And maybe 20% of them are really, really good leads. But nothing that tension between marketing and sales for a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead, and kind of balancing that out. I think using AI to clean that up to get the waste out of it and not have salespeople or SDRs or whoever is your first point of contact have to get on the phone or chase these people down. And I think the biggest cost in business, and we were kind of talking about that, I think on this or maybe in pregame, is opportunity cost, right? It's just the sales you don't get and focusing on the wrong leads and chasing wrong deals in the pipeline. And I don't think anybody goes deep on that enough and focuses on that enough. I have some clients in the traditional business, but also in the info marketing side of business, right? Where you and I did a lot of talking about at one point. And you get a lot of junk. Right. You get a lot of Facebook leads, you get a lot of Instagram leads, you get a lot of people that are quick to jump in, but they're not qualified for your product. But now you got people on the phones trying to book appointments with them. And then you got closers, if you will, trying to take those calls. And it doesn't matter how good they are or how good the sales process is. If it's an unqualified lead that have no money, you're wasting your time.
Right.
What are you excited about? We're kind of getting to our time here. What are you excited about for 2025?
I'm always excited about getting salespeople to elevate.
Okay.
And if I'm working with 5 salespeople on a team, not all of them are gonna make it. Right? I get it. But to me, I'm excited about that guy or that gal on a Friday afternoon driving home from a week on the road and calls me. I just told a sales guy this yesterday. You would call me on a Friday and say, hey, the thing that we talked about, I tried it and it worked. Right. And I love it when they get to the point where they're not so freaking surprised about it. Right.
And they do it right even better when they do it.
But that makes it makes my week.
Yeah.
But it also gives me that hope that there are those salespeople out there that are in that C+, B- area that want to get better. They just haven't been given that nugget, that coaching, right? Because most sales managers are worse than salespeople, right? Because the first time you got promoted as sales manager, because you were the tallest sales guy, right? You made the most money, so they figured you could handle helping the other salespeople. They're wrong, but so they don't get coaching, and that to me, I think there's hope there that we can elevate the profession.
I think, well, one is I appreciate you using that last word, that it's a profession. And I think we have to realize that. I got into sales. I knew I was going to get into sales. It was a profession to me. I studied
When did you know? When did you know?
I knew early. I was blessed. I had uncles that were in sales. I had, family that had a family business, right? So we had to go out and sell. We were in the produce business, the worst business in the world, right? Because your stock is depreciating as soon as you leave the dock. You had to sell it. I had another uncle that was my favorite uncle that was the first distributor for Japanese components and transistors for the Midwest. And I used to go out with him on sales calls, and he had the entire Midwest, Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota. His name was Frank Nitty, so they always loved pulling him over in the backwoods of Minnesota to say that they pulled over Frank Nitty. So that's a story for a different podcast. But so I knew early on, that whenever I tried to do like operational stuff, I get antsy, right? So I'd always go back to sales. My first role, I was a management trainee. Then I said I wanted to go in sales. They said, you're too young. I said, okay, I quit. And I went and sold insurance right? Because at the time in the 90s, 80s, that was the only thing that people were hiring. So financial services.
Sure.
I didn't know any better. I just followed the script and made 100 dials in the morning and 100 dials in the afternoon. So,
Yeah,
but that's a different story for a different day. I agree with everything you said. And I think the mantra of 2025 for me is it's all about sales coaching. And I agree with what you said. And everybody I say this to, if they're in HR, if they're in leadership, if they, whatever they're in, they all laugh and they all raise their hands when I say, we do it over and over and over again. We hire the best salesperson. And then at some point we decide, let's make them the sales manager. And on Friday, they were our number one salesperson. And on Monday, they're now our sales manager. And what happened over the weekend? They just watch football. Nothing has changed. And the motivation. So if I was interviewing on this podcast with Marco, a top producing salesperson, it would never come up that they got joy and happiness because they coached somebody up. They would never come up that they got joy and happiness because they told somebody to try something on Monday, and on Friday they called them and said it worked, right? It's just different motivations.
Yeah.
A salesperson, what you put them through and what you're looking at with the OMG, you're looking for certain things. It's not what a leader is. It's not what, you got to be into mentoring. You got to be into coaching. You have to get joy on that. So that's my rant for this.
I agree that, because when I first became a sales manager, my wife said it best. It's like, that's congratulations. Have you ever managed anybody?
Right. I remember you telling me that story. You're like, no. It's like, okay.
I barely managed myself. So, but I took it as it was a decade of trying to figure out how to do it. Right. I tried to figure out how to be a salesperson, and then I had to figure out how to be a sales manager. What I realized is I think what you're alluding to is sales coaching in 2025. If that was a focus for everybody, then we would elevate the profession.
We would elevate the teams that we manage, and the teams. If you're a founder or a business owner, your team. If you spent your time focusing on that, you'll pay dividends, right?
50% of a sales manager's time, 50% should be in coaching. 50%, in my opinion.
I would argue it should be higher, but okay, I'll give you 50.
I say 50 to 60, and people think I'm crazy. So,
yeah.
But and then you've got like accountability and pipeline management type stuff,
yeah.
Right? And maybe 5% of reporting to somebody that you got to report to.
Yeah,
if you're not out there working with those salespeople, they're not getting it. Right?
I got excited that you got guys still on the road again. I think that we're losing our ability to sell face to face, and that gets me excited that people are back in the field and at trade shows and all that.
Yeah, that's a thing that you're right.
I think that's a differentiation. If you're trying to figure out, I can't spend more on marketing, and I got to put your people in front of customers, face to face, belly button to belly button, and you'll see them where deals drop. How do people find you, Walter? If they like what they hear, they want to be on Cigars and sales
and cigars. Sales and cigars.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Sales and Cigars. How do they reach out to you?
LinkedIn.
Okay.
Just look Walter Crosby up. There's like 2 other Walter Crosbys, and one of them.
So go to the best looking one.
The one's dead, so I respond. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. My website is helixsalesdevelopment.com, and it's
we'll put that in the show notes.
Those are the 2 best ways, and I'm available to have. I just love talking to people about sales, and I love helping business owners, figure out that they think their problem is this, and it's really over here.
Yep. And
this is easier to solve.
Oh. Yep. And your book, what's the title of your book that they could find on Amazon?
Scale Your Sales.
And is it written? It's written for the CEO, isn't it?
It's really the how to avoid the 7 critical mistakes that CEOs make.
Okay.
And I've had several CEOs that I've sent it to say, you you wrote it the way you speak. So there's no like nonsense. There's no fluff. I get to the point. I tell them, this is what you're feeling. This is what the problem is. And this is what you should do to fix it.
All right, we got to have you on again, and let's go deep on those things. I'm going to pay some bills, and then I want you to have a great Thanksgiving. I know you got the whole family there. God bless to that. Enjoy. Have plenty of turkey. Your Detroit Lions are playing my Chicago Bears on Thanksgiving Day, so one of us will text the other person, either happy or sad. My guess is I'm going to be texting you congratulations.
Well, I have a client who's a Bears fan, and I asked him this question. I said, are you taking the Bears and the points? And he's like, I wouldn't take the Bears if the Lions didn't show up.
I think that everybody says that. Everybody says that. The two saddest bets are when you bet against Notre Dame and when you bet against the Bears or bet for the Bears. So we stay out of that. All right, folks. Listen, I want to thank the people at Pina Colada Media for all they do. If you want to talk to them about having a podcast, find them. They're in their show notes. If you want to talk to them about your marketing needs, about all your digital advertising needs, Pina Colada Media, they're the best in the business. They make you look good, and you really, really, really need to have a conversation with them. Marco, we didn't get to hear from you a lot. I know that you got turkey on the mind. You got Friendsgiving coming up today. You probably are just salivating over watching Walter smoke a cigar. You're going to go out and smoke a cigar. You're in Texas. Do you guys have turkey or do you have barbecue in Texas for Thanksgiving?
We've hold the line pretty steady on Thanksgiving and typically still do the turkey. It's Christmas that's up for grabs. We've moved that to more of a beef conversation in recent years.
Gotcha.
You fry the turkey or bake the turkey?
Say it again.
Fry the turkey or bake the turkey?
Lately, we've been frying the heck out of those things. Yeah, that's the majority of what I'm doing this year are fried birds. Nice. They're amazing. They're just absolutely amazing.
Well, I hope you don't burn the place down. My guess is you got it all taken care of. We're Italian, right? So we're really all about the pasta and the baklava and the all the good stuff. But there will be a turkey on our table. We've got both families at our house. So if you're listening to this, thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being a small business owner. Thank you for being a marketer, and thank you for being a salespeople. You make the world go around. Saturday, we're filming this and recording this. This coming Saturday, a small business Saturday. So shop at your local markets. Shop at your small business. I believe every day should be Small Business Day. Listen, somebody said if you just buy one extra shopping trip to your local store, you'll put an extra $3 million over the course of a year or two into your local economy. So folks, shop local, support your small businesses. Marco, thank you as always. You're a godsend. And Walter, you're a gentleman for being on with us. We're going to bring you back to talk about your book and, keep the sales flag going and keep the sales mantra going. And I appreciate you.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for tuning in to Sales Mavericks and Marketing Rebels. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Keep pushing the limits in your business. And remember, the Mavericks and Rebels are always ahead of the game. Catch you next time.